refresh your mind on how salary and wages work. So salary and wages basically works like this. I have what I call my gross salary or gross wage. This is the amount that is on my contract. On my contract, I earn 40,000 Rand a month. Okay, meaning for the year, let's say for the year, I earn 400,000 a year. Right, we all shall. But now, I do not get that 400,000 in my pocket. What happens is there's deductions. So I need to subtract deductions. And those deductions would be my tax, which is SARS payee, which at this stage is about, on 400,000 it would be about 25%. So you would pay at least 100,000. Pension fund. So let's say you pay every month for your pension 5,000. So 5 times 12 gives me 60,000. Okay, you're getting with me here. Medical aid. Let's say your medical aid is also about 5,000. So that's another 60. UIF is 1% of your gross. So it's going to be 40. Are we all excited to start working? So what's my net salary? So 300, 180, it's about 140 that you get out. Is that right? Everybody happy? How much do I get? 300, 200, 140. Okay. Now, that 140 is what I call my net salary. Okay. So this is on me. Okay. Now, let's say the owner also gives extra contributions. So this is something that is sponsored by the owner. Okay. Now let's say he gives to the pension fund rand for rand. And for the medical aid, he gives 50 cents for the rand. Usually they pay like, in our case, in the government, pays a third. So let's say they pay about 2,000. So 2 times 12, it's 24. Then UIF, they do rand for rand. Okay, so there's my contributions. So now I say this is, in the end, the contributions is 124. How much does it cost the business to employ me? It will cost the business the gross and the contribution. So in the end, it will cost the business 524,000 a year to employ this person. Right? So this is the business expense. Can you see what did I highlight? The gross and the total contributions. So in other words, if I do my books and I ask you to do the income statement, in my operating expenses, I'm going to have my salary. And my salary, I'm going to take that gross. And my contributions, pension fund contribution, medical aid contribution, UIF contribution, all of that goes into my income statement. You guys with me? Because in the end, this is what it costs the business. This comes from the business profit. Is everybody sharp? Okay. Now, you will see if you look at your nominal sections account, can you see there, you will find salary and wages, you will find contributions. Okay, what's a skills development levy again? A skills development levy is not a deduction, it's always a contribution, because the business by law has to pay over to SARS 1% of the person's gross salary every month, and then if they can show that they developed his skills, they can claim it back. Okay, so skills development would be all these courses that people go on, arranged by the business. Okay, so I want you to see, can you see all of this is nominal? This will not tell you if you've paid it. This literally tells you what is the expense to the business. It will not give you the info if it's paid or not. Okay, shop. Go shop. Now the other thing that happens is sometimes they don't give the contribution separate like this. They will sometimes put all of it together as employer contributions and give the total. Okay? Or you will not see it at all, because this business decided to just add it to my salary and wages expense. Okay, so how will you know which one to use? So you take your cue from the trial balance, and if the trial balance doesn't show you specifically, then you go read your adjustment, and if they don't tell you, then you do it the way you want to do it. Okay, I can tell you most of the matric exam papers, they add it to the salary and wages. This is the most common way that they do it in the newest papers. Okay, now let's go on. So now if I look at this paper here, if I want to do my balance sheet, I now want to do my balance sheet. Now it's all about what do I owe, right? So if you look at your SARS, can you see SARS will never have a contribution, so you will only owe the deduction. Who owes it? The business owes it to SARS. Now, but if I look at the pension fund, can you see the pension fund has a deduction and a contribution? So how much do we owe the pension fund? We all know GEMS, Discovery. How much must this business pay over to Discovery? The 60. Oh, I'm lying. I'm talking medical aid. Pension fund, government pension fund, government annuities at Santam, Sanlam. So they need to pay over 120. Can you see? That is what they owe. If I look at the medical aid, can you see the 60 and the 24? So 84 has to be paid over to the medical aid. 40 and 40, 80 needs to be paid over to the UIF. And by the way, the payee, the UIF, and the skills development, all of that goes to SARS. They are all kept with SARS. Okay, payable to SARS. Okay, so can you see now, when I go to my note for trade and other payable, can you see now they've got here creditors for salaries. Now that creditor for salary, is my net. Okay. Now they have pension fund. Where do I get that to? If you remember correctly, in the trial balance, where did I get those amounts? Now if you go to your trial balance, and I go to my balance sheet section, Can you see in your balance sheet section, there is a pension fund and a medical aid, right? And can you see it's on the credit side? Now in your balance sheet section, what kind of accounts is on the credit side?
Liability.
Your liabilities. Now why would this pension fund be a liability? What is a liability?
We owe.
We are owing, it's debt. Okay, so it's on the credit side because we still need to pay over 2,200 to the pension fund. You see? Does that make sense? So this year in the nominal section cannot tell me if I owe it. This year just tells me how much of my profit goes towards salaries and wages. Okay, employing people. In the balance sheet, it will show me if I still owe them. So, at this stage, if I look at this, do I owe any payee? Nothing. At this stage, if I look here, do I owe any UIF? No. At this stage, is there any worker that didn't get his net salary that I am still owing? No. The only two that I still owe is the pension and the medical aid. Okay, so that's what that means. Everybody sharp? So, the rule to remember, if I want to do my funds, I want to take the balance from the trial balance, because I still owe the money. I want to add the deduction and the contribution because this will give me the full amount that I owe to the fund. Okay. So now, let's look at this adjustment. So according to my books at this stage, before I look at the adjustments, I still owe the pension fund and I owe the medical fund. Why? Because they are written in the balance sheet section as a liability. Okay. Now, if I look at this information here, they say, the following totals from the February salaries. Can you see it's not the whole year? And maybe it's just one person that they forgot to put in. Maybe it's a new worker or whatever. So now let's go look. Can you see what do they give you? They give me the gross. So I know the gross goes to the income statement. So before I forget, I'm going to add it to the income statement. Okay. So that one is done. The deductions. The deductions is already part of the gross. But I owe it to specific funds. So I need to show it in these specific funds. So which funds is this? Yes. Okay, deductions is part of the gross because the gross is the deductions and the net. Because if I subtract the deductions from the gross, I get the net. So basically what happens is on my salary slip, it will say, I earn 20,000. Then it will say, the business takes 1,300 to the medical aid. Because I'm going to take, me as the business, will take that 1,300 or whatever from every single worker and pay it over as one big amount to the medical aid. In other words, I'm taking that admin. The business takes that admin on the business to do. You as a worker does not need to do it. It's not your job. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I see that deduction, I still owe it to the medical aid. The pension I still owe to the medical aid. the payee, I still owe to SARS. You guys with me? The UIF, I still owe to UIF, which isn't in here. I'm someone gonna push it in here. UIF, I still owe 200. And now they start with contributions. So what can you see here, stops the worker what he needs to pay. So if I look at this, if his salary is 20, but we take all of these amounts from his salary to pay over to all the funds, how much is left over? Huh? Yeah. So that will be his net salary, what goes into his bank account. And how much is that? 12,800. That's his net salary. So his net salary, I'm going to put here. I still owe him that. Everybody sharp? I put it here because I don't know what they're going to tell me further. Okay, so just wait. Now they get to the contributions. Now the contributions is extra to the gross. Can you see deductions makes the gross less? Contributions makes the gross more. Okay? But this money is still not going to be paid out to the person. It's going to be paid over to the medical aid. In other words, in this guy's name, we take 1,003 from him, we give 2,600. So in other words, 3,900 is paid over to the medical aid in his name. Okay. So now, let's look. So those contributions is now making my expense more. Remember? So if I go to the income statement, I know my medical aid contribution goes up, my UIF contribution goes up, my skills development levy was the one. Why didn't I put that in? Skills development levy is also going up. How much? 200. Can you guys see that the skills development and the UIF amounts are the same? Okay. Actually, by law, this is wrong because by law, the worker is supposed to give equal. Okay. So now, I also know that this needs to be paid over to the medical aid, to the UIF. Ne? Can you see I'm not adding the 1-1. I'm not adding the opening balances. Ne? I'm not adding the opening balances because this does not tell me how much I owe. It tells me my expense. This in the balance sheet tells me how much I owe. And according to this, I owe nothing to the medical aid. Right? You guys with me? Okay, so that 200 doesn't sound right. Why did I put 200? Yeah, it is 200. Okay. So now,
Why don't we put the...
I still need the skills development levy. So I'm going to push it in here. Skills development levy, also 200. Okay. So now I've put all the information everywhere, and now they give me this bold here. They say only the payment for net salary was not made. Okay, so if I go here, I still owe the creditors for salary. But can you see, all the other payments were made, meaning I did pay the STL. I did pay the UIF. I did pay the pension fund. I did pay the medical aid. I did pay SARS. So now, if I set up a new trial balance, can you see in the balance sheet section, there won't be anything. Is everybody with me?